Welcome back to the Stretch to Floor podcast. I'm Matthew, and I'm here as always with Venushan. And today we're talking LNBA. It's been a mess of a season. There's only a few players that have played over like 55 to 56 games, so there's potential to be a lot of disagreement between us and the three All NBA teams. We're going to try our best. It's going to be a little messy, and especially the bottom end, like the third team, might look a lot different. But let's get right into it. Let's start with the most exciting team, the most interesting team, the team that's probably going to have the most agreement, the first team. Who do you have? Guard, two forwards, and a center. First team.
Yeah. So I got Curry, CP3, Giannis, Kawhi, Jokic.
Yeah, I have the same team. I think
Okay, yeah. It's pretty obvious, I think.
Jokic obviously has to be the center. I mean,
He's the MVP. He's the MVP.
Jokic is the MVP. Obviously has to be on the first team. There is potential to have Embiid listed as a forward and have him on the first team if you wanted to, but that seems a little like cheating to me. Embiid's like a center. He's not even close to a forward, in my opinion. He's probably never played a minute of power forward in his life. So that feels like cheating to me. So I think Steph and Chris Paul are both going to be in the top 5 of MVP ballots. So I think they have to be locks. Giannis has played the most, has one of the players that has played almost the whole season, has the same numbers as his last 2 MVP seasons. Just voter fatigue is not going to let him win it. Kawhi is the one that is like, I'm not feeling totally all in about. He's only played 49 games. Now I know that he's not unique in that. Like almost everyone in the league has played 50 or 50 to 55 games. But what's another option that could have been there instead of Kawhi? Like Julius Randle's the only guy that comes to mind for me, just because he's played 66 games and he's put up a 24, 10, and 6. But I don't know. Kawhi, the Clippers have a higher seed. Kawhi's defense, his leadership. Randle has leadership too, but the playmaking and all that stuff in the games he has played, Kawhi's been 52% from the field, almost 40% from three. Kind of efficiency that we haven't seen from him since his like low usage days in San Antonio.
Yeah, honestly, the only other person that could be there over Kawhi is Joel Embiid. But Joel Embiid has been listed as a forward/center for the last 3 years, and he's always gone as a center. Like he's gonna get in as a center. And these guys, including Embiid, are probably the top 6 MVP candidates. Jokic, Giannis, Curry, CP3, Kawhi, Joel Embiid. That's probably 1 to 6 in MVP candidates. So it's going to be in between those 6 guys. Curry, CP3, Jokic, and Giannis are locks. Kawhi and Embiid are interchangeable. We're just telling you that even though Embiid is listed as a forward/center, last 3 years he has been, and he's always gone as a center. So it's just like a anomaly on like the voting track board. Yes, he can go both, but he will be a center. That's how the voters vote him in, the media members. So no point in debating this. And it's just the top 6 MVP candidates. It kind of just worked out. You know what I mean? Like usually there's a little more debate with like LeBron, KD, and Kawhi are all playing full seasons, but this season they sadly couldn't and kind of just fell into the laps. Like this has to be the first team. There really is no debate. The debates will start on like the second and third team, but the first team's kind of a lock.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, like Kawhi, I think those 4 except Kawhi are locks. Kawhi is probably close to a lock. Honestly, like I will not be surprised if Julius Randle somehow makes the first team. Like we'll get to him in a minute when we go to the second and third teams. But like I said, Kawhi's only played 49 games, but the games he has played, he's been amazing. So that's why I put him there.
And for CP3, we got to touch on him too, because people are going to be like, yo, man, look at Doncic's numbers. Look at Damian Lillard's numbers. They're like a million times better. And at the end of the day, if you have CP3 as your second in MVP voting and you don't have him in the all NBAs, like I don't know anyone who has CP3 below Jokic, Curry. Like, is anyone like any other guard ahead of ahead of Chris Paul besides Curry?
No.
Like not really.
No.
So like you have to put Chris Paul all NBA first team because if he's in MVP talks, he has to be there. I don't want another situation when like Marc Gasol wins Defensive Player of the Year and doesn't get Defensive Plus Player of the team. Like he's in that conversation. He has to be all NBA first.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because I think even if you took away like the position restrictions and just said give me your 5 best players of this year, Embiid might go in ahead of Kawhi, but like other than that, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah. This year, injuries, COVID restrictions, the team records, everything impacted. you have to take all that into account. And this is obvious. Like LeBron missed too many games, KD missed too many games, Harden missed a lot of games,
Mm-hmm.
Embiid missed a lot of games even too.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell missed a lot of games, and Jazz a lot of see like it
Yeah.
just sucks because all those guys who would be competing there and who would kind of bump Chris Paul all the way down to a 3 or maybe even out of it, they all just got injured and didn't play enough games.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's move on to the second team. Probably a little more debate here. I think we're going to agree, at least on the guards, Luka and Dame Lillard, who you
Yeah,
just brought
same.
up, have to be the two guards, in my opinion. And then Joel Embiid is obviously the center. And my two forwards are Julius Randle and Paul George.
Yeah, so I agree on every single position except I have LeBron over Paul George.
Oh, wow.
That's about it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess we'll start with that. Paul George, 51 games played versus LeBron's 43, so it's not that much of a difference, I
Yeah.
guess. But Paul George has been amazing defensively in the games that Kawhi missed. He carried that team a lot of the time. He's averaging a 24, 6.5, and a 5, 47% from the field, 42% from three, almost 80 or over 87% from the line. I understand having LeBron in there. If LeBron
Yeah.
played 5 or 6 more games, I probably would have him there too. Just Paul George has been, especially recently, has been so good, so good.
Yeah, so I would have gave it to Paul George or another player that played more games. It's just the fact that no one has played that much more games than him.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I was looking through this and I was like, oh man, LeBron only has 43 games. All right, let me like not even pencil him into this year's All NBA.
Yeah.
And then I look at everyone else and they're all playing 50, 51, 52. I was like, oh man, this guy still gets in there because he was the what were the Lakers were the second seed or third seed when
Mm-hmm.
they were playing.
Yep.
And that's when Anthony Davis out too.
Yeah.
So LeBron, Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, Marcus Gasol, KCP. Yeah, that team was a second seed and a third seed. So LeBron was just going crazy. Sadly, he is getting older. That
Mm-hmm.
ankle just couldn't hold up. He came
Yeah.
back and he has to sit out games again to the point where we don't even know if they'll be healthy for a playoff run because both LeBron and Anthony Davis are like in and out games. We don't know if it's resting. We don't know if they're actually hurt because they fell into a play-in now. So yeah, this guy's just crazy, man. And if he's
Yeah.
healthy, we all hope he's healthy because that playoff will be a lot interesting, a
Yeah.
lot more
And
interesting.
something that's going under the radar is he's almost 37% from three this year, which is like
Yeah,
20% up from last year. And it seems like as he's getting older, he's taking a little bit more of them, getting a little bit better at them. He knows he's going to have to do that as he, more old man game and stuff like that. But yeah, he's
yeah,
been a 25, 8, and 8. If it weren't for the, like, really, I'm like nitpicking. Like, I have Paul George 51 games played over LeBron 43 games played.
yeah,
Like, at that point, does it really matter who has more games played? Not
yeah,
really.
exactly.
But it could really go either way.
Yeah, and Paul George, I'm gonna say right now, he didn't make any of my All NBA teams.
Wow.
I think just clearly like Paul George for me, he's been like the clear number two option.
Yeah.
And he had those like slow starts, rough starts, and statistically he's good. But if
Mm-hmm.
you watch him play the game, like it's not even like a debate anymore. Like last season, we are a debate, like, oh, who shoots the ball, kind of like we're having with the Nets right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's clearly went into that number two role. And the Clippers aren't like a dominant one seed where I could kind of reward them with 2, 3 all NBA guys. So I was just like, Paul George had to make my cut.
Yeah. And so going to the guards for a second. It's funny how much narrative like plays a role in the MVP voting
For
because
sure.
Luka Doncic hasn't been getting any mentions at all in MVP, and he's a
Yeah.
28, 8, and 9 pretty much, and he's almost 36% from three, which is way better than he has been in years past. So he's having his most efficient season. 61 games played is up there with some of the leaders in games played. He's been like absolutely amazing, especially in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I think Luka Doncic has been amazing. The thing that happened to him was the whole referee situation kind of lost
Yeah.
him a lot of momentum and kind of surrounded his whole season. And what we're talking about is he gets a lot of texts for complaining. He even missed the game due to suspension, due to technical issues.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he needs to fix that. He addressed, he says, yeah, I do complain too much. I'm gonna fix that going forward. Hopefully he does, because we don't want to see a young players kind of get soured on by the fans because of something so like minuscule, right? Because like LeBron complains a lot too, but not to the point where fans start disliking him, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully he fixes that. And also the seeding. He was just too low of a seed to be in that MVP debate. But he is avoiding the play in right now. So hopefully he can
Mm-hmm.
avoid that play in, have a good he could beat anyone. Like and that Mavs team could
Yeah.
beat anyone besides like the Lakers, fully healthy Lakers. So like avoid the Lakers, which right now 6-7, like that's perfect. You avoid the conference finals, and I think this is going to be a fun team. KP is getting slightly more healthy. I know it's taking. I know we say that every single year, but
Yeah.
hopefully this playoffs his legs hold through, and this will be an interesting team to watch. And him and Dame are like the same situation. Amazing guards carrying their team to like a 5 and 6 seed though. So no MVP
Hmm.
debate, but great stats.
Yeah. And if you just took if like don't even look at the name, just look at the numbers. 24, 10, and 6, 46% from the field, 40, almost 42 from three, 81 from the line, 66 games played, and the leader in minutes played in the league, Julius Randle. In this season like
Yeah,
this, that could be that's a first team caliber stat line. I'm surprised that neither of us have him in the first team because that does just the minutes played and the games played in a season like this might be enough to get him over Kawhi in that first team. Do you think it's just the name that has Kawhi up there, or is it the defense, or is it what is it, the seed?
I think honestly it's just a name. Like when
Yeah,
you like just putting down Julius Randle ahead of LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard,
yeah,
Kevin Durant, all these guys, it's just like it just feels weird. And I think that is going to restrict him from a first seed placing, but he has to be second team, like
yeah. He has to.
minimum.
Yeah.
He's played too much. He's had too much impact. They're a 4 seed, and we said they're going to slide to 8, like right after All Star break, because we're
Yeah.
like, oh man, look at this tough schedule. Like, can RG Barrett hold it up? Did they adjust to Julius Randle's improvements? Are they gonna like adjust how they adjusted to Pascal Siakam's improvements
Hmm.
last season? And no, man, he just kept like showing out, and the Knicks kept rolling, and they get improved to the 4 seed. So like first or second team, either's up. I'm okay with him being over Kawhi, and I'm okay with Kawhi being over him.
Hmm.
It's just he has to get first or second team. It's a lock for first or second team,
Yeah.
which is crazy to say.
I know. He's making us look like idiots because preseason we said Knicks guaranteed 15 seed in the East, and then when we did our like kind of after the All Star break, like looking at the standings, we're like, okay, the Knicks are gonna go on a little bit of a tailspin here. They're not gonna win a bunch in a row. Then I think they won 8 straight or something like that, eight or
Yeah,
nine straight, and they're still in the 4 seed. Correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah, they're fourth.
And he's been the only truly consistent player start to finish. So like just amazing, amazing year for Julius Randle.
And I think us and almost everyone else was expecting him to get traded. Like they
Yeah.
just drafted Obi Topping. They're like, all right, let's show out Julius Randle for the first half of the season, get him out of here, put in Obi Topping, and let's roll. I think we're all
Yeah.
expecting like a huge rookie season from Obi Topping and like Julius Randle just be a nice 6 man
Yeah.
on some team. But no, he wins MIP. He guaranteed got that award,
Oh
and
yeah.
he gets an All NBA second team award. And the Knicks should win their first round matchup. Like they should beat the Hawks. So now we're talking about a second round appearance, uh,
Wow.
MIP award, and
Hmm.
us All NBA second team with cap space in the offseason. The Knicks are
Hmm.
looking great.
That sounds very, very similar to Pascal Siakam, most improved, second team All NBA, first round victory.
Yeah,
Let's just hope it doesn't come with the what came after that.
huge decline. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so I think this is where it's going to get a little messy. There's potential that we don't agree on a single one of these spots for the third team. So
yeah.
let's you give me yours first.
Very, very Brooklyn Nets themed here.
Mm,
Kyrie Irving, James Harden, my guards, and my forwards, Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum, and I think the center we all have to agree on, Rudy Gobert.
yeah, Rudy Gobert has to be the center. I also
Yeah,
have Kyrie as a guard. I'm surprised James Harden. I mean, I know like he's played 42 games. I'm like that's not enough for me.
yeah.
That's barely half the season. But like then I have LeBron who's played
3
43 games.
one
I,
extra
I,
game.
it's such a crapshoot. I mean, honestly it's stupid. But I think I don't know LeBron. I contemplated having him off the All NBA entirely, but it just doesn't feel right to me. Um,
Yeah.
it's not like it was a down year for him, just injuries when everyone else in the league was injured. I also have Jason Tatum as my other forward, Kyrie, and then Devin Booker is my other guard.
Okay, so the only disagreements we have is I have LeBron's second team,
Yeah,
and then you have Paul George over Jimmy
yeah,
Butler. I have
yeah,
Jimmy Butler over Paul George, and then
yeah.
you have Devin Booker over James Harden. I think for the Devin Booker versus James Harden argument for All NBA third team, because I have him as an honorable mention too,
Mm-hmm.
games played.
Yeah,
Obviously, James Harden had a better season. It's
yeah,
just Devin Booker played more games.
yeah.
They're both like the first seed, so
Mm-hmm.
that's up to debate. Like both team success was there.
Yeah.
Uh, if you have LeBron James in here, if you have Joel Embiid guys in here, which we both have, which will make the All NBA like 99% sure,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have James Harden in there too. He's played enough games. He's one game less than LeBron, so that's enough. And he's gonna return. You have to remember he's gonna return. Maybe play one or two more. So that's gonna
Yeah.
definitely push him closer.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving, we gotta mention him, man.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
season, man, he was getting a lot of hate for leaving and stuff, but he's played the most games out of the big three. He's kind of steadied the ship. He's kept them a high seed, and he deserves the recognition he's gonna get. And even though like you have Kyrie Irving and this off court attention, at the end of the day, he's one of the best players to
Mm-hmm.
ever play basketball. Like offensively, he has a lot of talent, just general. Like he could put the ball in from the 3 point line, from the inside. He's a crafty finisher, and he just hoops and he just hoops. And he's a leader too. He was able to lead these other guys, Joe Harris, Bruce Brown, when Katie and Harden were playing, or when only one was playing. And he deserves to get all the credit he does, man. Like a lot of people just hate on him, say he's the
Mm-hmm.
obvious third option and stuff, but he able to weather the storm. And if he wins another championship, Kyrie Irving is definitely gonna go up in like career retrospective.
Yeah, and it's crazy how much his game like actually does the talking. Because when he's not playing for whatever reason, when it's the off season, there's all this
Yeah,
drama. Everyone kind of starts to hate on him, sour on him. They're like,
for
I don't
sure.
know, Kyrie's the third on this team, and then you watch him play and see what he
It's
does.
amazing.
It's amazing. He like sometimes he looks like the best player on that team. Now they all kind of take turns looking like the best player on that team sometimes, but
Yeah,
for a guard his size, 6'1", 6'2", maybe
yeah,
50% from the field, he's the best finisher as a guard I think I've ever seen. Obviously best hand in the league. 27 a game, five boards, 6 assists a game. He's been the most consistent, steadiest part of that big three. And whenever he's on the floor, he's a show. He's just so fun to watch.
yeah, for sure. And like at the end of the day, he's just there. He's just there
Yeah.
hooping. At the end of the day, he's getting the points. He's getting wins. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's the only type of player to kind of do that and not get the credit.
Yeah.
And we think he has to be all NBA third team. Has to.
Yeah. He has to be. Yeah. So then, like you said, Devin Booker versus James Harden.
Games played
The games played goes to Booker. Harden game per game has been a lot better than Devin
better.
Booker. Devin Booker was not as efficient as I think we thought he would be this year, but he's the closer for them. 25, 26, 4.5 about there, almost 49% from the field, 34% from three. He's just been doing Devin Booker things, and it's going to hopefully continue into the playoffs. It's going to be really fun to watch him close games. They might be looking at a first round matchup versus the Lakers, which would really, really,
Tough.
really suck.
Yeah.
But Devin Booker in the playoffs is going to be really fun to see.
Yeah, and he's been good, man. Like people like want to bash on him for his efficiency, but you
Yeah,
have to remember the game changed. They played way slower, so it
yeah,
took a while to get adjusted to. Hopefully, that
yeah.
adjustment phase is worth it because now they're adjusted to
Hmm.
playing playoff basketball. But man, it's gonna be tough for him in the playoffs, and I feel like the media is just gonna go with James Harden. I just feel it. I don't hear Devin Booker that much compared to
Hmm.
Chris Paul, compared to
Yeah,
Monty Williams, who's probably going to win Coach of the Year. I
yeah.
feel like those two are going to get credited for the Suns' success. Chris Paul with the All NBA First Team Award and Monty Williams with the Coach of the Year. I feel like Devin Booker's going to be a really honorable mention with the guys like Donovan Mitchell, Bradley Beal, who even though is
Hmm.
not winning, is scoring a crazy amount, a crazy efficiency.
Yeah,
So I feel like he's going to be in that tier with those guys, with those snubs.
yeah. And okay, so we both agreed about
Jason,
LeBron James. You have Jimmy Butler and Jason Tatum, right?
yes. So let's talk Tatum.
Yeah, let's talk Tatum. Tatum, 26 a game, 7 boards, 4.5 assists almost. 43 games played, so he's missed a considerable amount of time, but
Yeah.
almost 39% from three. He's just the role players on Boston are so bad. Uh, all their wins are pretty much accounted for by Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and he's been amazing. Like he looks like an instant bucket. I wouldn't be surprised if he averaged like 29 next year, 30 next year. He looks that good. Like he's like unguardable almost every game.
Yeah, and man, they just had so much COVID problems because
Yeah,
like Evan Fournier got traded to them. And how many games has he played?
like I don't
Like,
even know, three, if
yeah, like
that.
he's just constantly in and out of the because
Yeah,
due to protocols. Kemba Walker just man, he's just been banged up this whole year.
yeah.
He has tried adjusting his game. Shout out to Kemba. He has tried to become more of a playmaker, but he's just been hurt.
Hmm.
Jaylen Brown is another guy that should be like not like in these teams, but he should be in the conversation and the
Uh,
snub
yeah, if there was a
because
fourth team, he'd probably be on it. Maybe.
he's been playing great. Uh, but other than those two Jays, like Jason Tate and Jaylen
Hmm.
Brown, they kind of just suck.
They suck.
Like it's
Yeah.
all just like rookies. It's
Yeah.
like Peyton Pritchard. Like these guys are good if you're on a
Hmm.
rebuilding team, but they're not good for a championship contender, and they're not a championship contender this year, the Celtics.
Hmm.
But he's made his step. He's proven that he is a superstar. He's proven that he's in the same breath as Paul George, Kawhi, LeBron,
I agree.
and he's gonna keep getting better. And this is just first of many for him.
Yeah, totally. And you have Jimmy Butler in there, which
Yeah,
I honestly I might agree with. You have Jimmy Butler over Paul George.
yeah.
Like that's the one difference we have. I yeah, I might agree with that. He's been so in the
The
games that he has played, he missed a lot of time, but so has everyone in the games he has played. He's been amazing. What is he like 22
21.6, 2.1 steals, 7.2 assists, and
yeah.
7 rebounds.
Yeah.
Like I think people just forget how much this guy
Yeah.
took a step on the assists. 7.2 assists, 7 rebounds. He's like in that LeBron James esque
Mhm.
averages. Uh, He's played. We say he missed a lot of games, and I think when you sit down and you look at the numbers, he's played 49 versus Paul George's 51.
51.
Yeah. Tatum's
Yeah,
played 43, LeBron's played
that's
43, James
crazy.
Harden's played
Yeah.
42 games. Like it's a
Yeah.
1 game difference with Harden, right?
Yeah.
So like I think we have to just like eliminate this like missed game narrative
Mhm.
for this all NBA teams because
Mhm.
everyone's kind of missed a lot of games. Unless you're like a Kevin Durant or Anthony Davis who's only played like 20 games.
Mhm.
I think as long as you're in that 45 plus range, you're good.
Yeah.
And I think just looking at what happened, I think this is kind of like what happened with Bradley Beal where he was in like the voting for the All-Star team. I think people are gonna look at Jimmy Butler, remember that bubble performance and that finals thing. Look at his stats where it's 7 and 7 and to 22 points.
Mhm.
And the Heat are still on a playoff team. It's not like they're in the play-ins or anything. They're still in playoffs. So they're gonna be like, you know what? Yeah, just give Jimmy Butler his credit. Let's put him in here. And I think he's just gonna get the nod over
Mhm.
other people competing with him.
Yeah, I think if the Heat had a little bit higher seed, like, I mean, there still is potential for them to be a
Yeah,
little bit higher. They can move up a couple of spots before
yeah.
the season's up. So yeah, maybe. And it's weird. For some reason, I thought he played like
Like
38
way
games,
less.
40 games.
Yeah.
But he's played like what did you say, 49?
49, yeah.
Wow. Maybe it just feels like more because he was one of the first players to miss considerable
Miss a
time, like
bunch. Yeah.
early in the season, and the Heat really fell down, and they haven't. They're in the playoffs, but they're not like up where we thought they would be.
Yeah.
But part of that is like outside of Bam and Jimmy, their team has really regressed. Like Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, like those guys have not been who they were in the bubble, and their success is pretty much all reliant on Jimmy and Bam.
And Dragic hasn't been fully healthy.
Yeah,
Kendrick Nunn, like he was a solid rookie for
yeah,
them last year, averaging 15 points. Like people don't underestimate. People think he averages like 12. No, he averaged 15 points for the whole season. He's been banged up too. Uh Jay Crowder was a huge part for them defensively, switching, playing that 4 spot. They really lacked that. And
yeah,
Kelly Olynyk, they traded him for Victor Oladipo.
yeah.
Kelly Olynyk is averaging like 18 points while Victor Oladipo has played 2 games. So
Yeah.
like they're just having a bad string of luck. Everyone's
Mhm.
coming to them and just like not playing games. So yeah, like Trevor Ariza is scoring the most points for them right now against the Celtics. So like
Yeah.
they're just struggling right now with the
Yeah.
depth, which was supposed to be their strong suit.
Do we know uh Oladipo's status for the play-in/playoffs? Do we know like
He's
if
been
he's
out
gonna be
for such
back?
a long time, so
Yeah.
it's probably gonna miss some time, and I don't even know if he'll start if he comes back. But
Yeah.
those contracts that Oladipo turned down, uh, 20
Mhm.
million a year from the Houston Rockets and from the Indiana Pacers, it looks like he's gonna be really missing those contracts because I don't think those are available this offseason.
Yeah, it's looking like that. Okay, so let's talk about a few guys that just missed the cut. For me, I have Butler as my top honorable mention. Uh, I have Bam in there as an honorable mention. Jaylen Brown, James Harden, obviously. Zion. Zion was 27 points a game on 61% shooting this year. They have not a ton of winning, so that's probably what hurt him because he played like 60 plus games,
Yeah,
right? So I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a third team. Do you have him as an honorable mention?
yeah, I have him the Jimmy Butler, like if he doesn't, Jimmy Butler doesn't get that recognition from like last year's bubble to kind of boost him over Zion. Pure statistics are just gonna put Zion in
Yeah.
because he's crazy. He's like a mini Shaq. He's a six
Yeah.
foot six Shaq.
Yeah.
That's what he is. He's a 6 foot Shaq that has like crazy like in air agility, like Michael
Mm-hmm.
Jordan level in air agility. Uh, Obviously guys that missed because they didn't play enough games. KD, Anthony
KD.
Davis.
Yeah.
Those two guys would be in here every single year. They didn't play
Yeah.
enough games, so they're not here. Embiid moving to the four, we talked about that. So we needed that fourth center. Kind
Mm-hmm.
of Gobert moves to the second team, and we needed a third team center. I think I think it would be Bam because I don't know
Bam.
if anyone else was there. Like Conley Towns
No.
barely played. Uh,
Vucevic.
Vucevic is on a way lower seed,
Yeah.
so I would give it to Bam, and
Yeah.
then obviously Jimmy wouldn't get in if that was the kind of scenario because you can't have
Mm-hmm.
two Heat players. Uh, Bradley Beal and Russell
Yeah.
Westbrook,
And Russell Westbrook. Yeah.
amazing stats, just not no winning.
Mm-hmm.
Bradley Beal still has a chance. Maybe he gets in there like with Booker and stuff.
Yeah.
But like I don't think he does. He just scores a crazy amount, and he just had another like 50-point overtime win. Like he's just statistics. He's a
Yeah.
fantasy god. Him and Westbrook.
Yeah. And two more guards. Well, I guess one of these guys is a guard, and another one's like everything. Ben Simmons and Trey Young. I think they have to be mentioned as honorable mentions. Trey Young has the Hawks in a playoff seed, 5
Yeah,
seed,
five
right
seed.
now.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons is our defensive player of the year. Is going to be a lock for the first team all defense.
Yeah,
Just not quite good enough to make the cut, but deserve to be
deserve a
mentioned.
mention.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trey Young is probably one of the most underrated guys in the league.
Yeah,
Fifth seed, averaging like what 29, 27 and 9.
something like that. Yeah,
Like that's crazy
Yeah.
stats. But and with winning and
Yeah.
everything's compiled together, it's just he doesn't get the credit from the media.
yeah.
And it's because his trash defense, worst ever, like in NBA history.
Probably the worst ever. He's definitely a bottom
Yeah,
5 defender all time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he
Okay,
needs to step
so
that up a little bit to get
yeah.
into that conversations.
Okay, so that's a good pivot to the all defensive teams. First team, I guess I'll start. Ben Simmons, obviously, at guard. I have Drew Holiday as the second guard, Giannis and Paul George as the other two guards, and obviously Rudy Gobert as the center.
So yeah, I agree with everything except I think we have a common switch
Paul George,
over. You have Paul George, I have
Jimmy.
Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
So that's
All
the
right.
common switch. For me, Paul George, he's just not like the focal point of the team's
Yeah,
defense.
that's fair.
It's kind of Kawhi Leonard. So I don't think he'll ever get in, even though he probably should get in because he does guard the guy more often. It's just Kawhi always gets him in the fourth quarter or he gets that game winning block or that
Mm-hmm.
flashy play. And Kawhi's on my second team, by the way. So like I just shout out that. But like, yeah, Paul George is never gonna get that credit when he's playing with Kawhi.
Yeah.
Always get overshadowed.
Yeah. And Ben Simmons and Giannis are not
Lock.
surprises there. Drew Holiday. I'm kind of surprised we both have Drew Holiday there. I think he's out of like the actual small guards. Like Ben Simmons is not like a small guard. He's a guard, but he's like a monster, right? Drew Holiday,
Yeah.
I think Fred VanVleet, like these are some of the best small guard defenders in the league, and Drew Holiday might be the best out of all of them.
And I think it's just the whole like everyone talking about him, right?
Yeah.
Like Kevin Durant, JJ Redick, like people when Kevin Porter Jr. had a great game, it was all on Drew Holiday. The Bucks are being great defensively. Last year, Eric Bledsoe got a first team vote because of the Bucks' great performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's a lock that Drew Holiday's kind of finally get the recognition he deserves just because the players talked about it so much and kind of complained about it so much.
Yeah, and probably his most memorable defensive performance ever was that matchup against Dame Lillard when he was with the Pelicans. And we could be seeing something like that this year, right? If he matches up against Kyrie or James
Yeah.
Harden or something like that, right? We could be seeing like a really memorable performance potentially.
Yeah, and he's trying to prove that he's worth that money.
Mhm.
Because we said, man, this kind of caps them and they're never going to win a championship. And he's trying to prove us and a lot of the media members wrong and prove that he is a good enough to be 2A type player.
Yeah, and those three, like Middleton, Drew Holiday, Giannis, look really, really good together. And I don't know if like everything they have past those three is going to be
good
enough for
enough.
them to get to the East Finals or even to
Yeah.
the finals, but we'll see because those three are really, really good.
Yeah, and Rudy Gobert. He's
Yeah,
second in defensive player of the year.
yeah,
He's probably gonna win it over
probably gonna
Benson,
win.
our guy. So we don't even need to talk about him. Like,
Yeah,
just look at his stats. He's like
yeah,
one of the best defenders of all time. His defense will carry him to the Hall of Fame. Like,
yeah,
that's how good he is defensively.
yeah. He does this for another 3-4 years. He's probably in the Hall of Fame, guaranteed.
Even if he does it for another like 2 years, he's probably in the Hall
Yeah,
of Fame. Three defensive
yeah,
player of the years. Like, that's crazy.
yeah. Okay, yeah. Give me your second team. So you already said you have Kawhi.
Yeah. So my two guards are DeJounte Murray and Marcus Smart. I have Kawhi as my small forward slash forward, whatever. And I cheated here. I'll put Embiid as my other forward, and I put
Hmm.
Bam as my center.
Wow. Okay. I counted Bam as a forward.
Oh,
So
okay. So same thing.
whatever. But I
Yeah.
have Miles Turner as my center. That's someone I had in my defensive player of the year ballot, and you didn't. It's just those 3.3 blocks a game, whatever. It's kind of hard to
Yeah.
overlook. Jimmy, I have as the other forward, and my guards are completely different. This might just be bias, um, but I have Fred VanVleet as one of them. Uh, this might be just Toronto fan bias, but Fred VanVleet, I think, when he is a top four, like 6 foot defender in the league. And the steals, like the rebounding and stuff are really good. DeJounte Murray is amazing, and this is
Yeah.
more bias. This is Canadian bias, but I have Lou Dort in there. He's just one of my most favorite
Oh,
defenders to
yeah.
watch as my other guard. Now DeJounte Murray and Mark Smart are both amazing, uh, and probably more likely over these two. But this is my ballot.
Okay, I probably take off Bam from my like forward, whatever, move
Mm,
Embiid to center and put in Lou Dort. It's kind of just someone I forgot. I gotta give him credit where credit's due. But the thing with Lou Dort is the reason I didn't have him on my team was I don't think he played enough games. I think he was in that uh
Let me look that up right now.
oh no, he played 52, 52. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
that seems
So
yeah.
Ludor in. I think you have to have DeJounte Murray in. I don't know how you don't have him in. Like I know you love Fred VanVleet, but he's on a 12th seed team. So we know when, especially for defense, they rewarded for winning. And DeJounte Murray's he's played 60 games. They're in the playoff
Hmm.
play-in picture, and he's just the best defender, like by far on that team. Like no one else is really like even considered anywhere near this team on that Spurs roster. So
Hmm.
DeJounte Murray is just crazy, man. He just slows down guards like crazy. He has to be a lock for the
No,
second team
he
at
he
least.
is he is gonna make it. It's just like I've seen every single minute Van Vliet has played this season, and I haven't.
Yeah.
I've seen like not obviously not as much of Dejounte Murray. So I look at Van Vliet and I'm like, oh, this guy's like one of the best defenders in the league. And it just I want to give the Raptors something because they're not gonna have much this year. So
Yeah.
just you know,
Yeah. And last season, DeJounte Murray wasn't healthy, so he didn't make the award. And the one before this, he was first team.
yeah,
I think the media members love him. The fans, they kind of all recognize him.
yeah,
I'll be surprised if he doesn't make it. Marcus Smart is a guy I threw in here because he always kind of gets in this conversation. And even though he has missed some couple times, everyone else has missed time as well. So I feel like he'll sneak in. Kawhi, he made it last year. He's probably going to make it this year. Just that name recognition.
yeah.
Even though he's obviously regressed as
He
a
has
regular season
regressed.
defender,
Yeah,
he's still amazing. And I think he's just going to get that name recognition and get him in.
yeah, probably. That I think that first team is probably a lock. Maybe not Paul George. Jimmy might be in there in that first team, but it's just, the
Yeah,
second team could go anyway. I think you're right. Murray is going to be in there. I hope Dort gets it. That'd be nice.
yeah.
Um,
Marcus
Embiid,
Smart, Kawhi,
Embiid will probably get in there because he can't be
Embiid or
MVP. But
Bam, Embiid
yeah,
or
there
Bam
has.
at center.
Yeah, he has to be rewarded somehow for this season, for this regular season. But yeah, okay. I think I actually might like your second team better than mine. Uh, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
let's move on to the all rookie team. I don't think there's going to be much disagreement with the first team.
yeah.
Probably with the second team. I'll go first. LaMelo Ball at guard, obviously. Tyrese Halliburton, obviously. Anthony Edwards, I'm counting as a small forward.
Same.
Um, Patrick Williams, the other forward, and
Yeah.
the last guy is Isaiah Stewart.
I just have Jaylen Tate over
Hmm.
Isaiah Stewart, but Isaiah Stewart's on my second team. Jaylen
Yeah.
Tate's probably on your second team, so it's kind of those first or second. Yeah, LaMelo, he's the rookie of the year. He's a lock. Anthony Edwards, he's a close contender for rookie of the year. He
Hmm.
should be a lock too. Tyrese Halliburton is the consensus number 3 for rookie of the year, so he's a lock. Patrick Williams is probably the consensus number 4 for rookie of the
Yeah.
year, so he's a lock. And just Jaylen Tate versus Isaiah Stewart. I gave it to Tate because He's just putting up a little better like
Hmm.
face stats, counting
Hmm.
stats,
Yeah.
and Stewart's like just starting to roll because Mason Plumlee was rolling a little bit before him. I guess same with Tate because pre-hard and he wasn't really doing anything.
Yeah.
So those two guys are a toss up. It could go either way. But
Yeah.
I think you have him on your second team. Tate,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
I have Stewart on my second team. So yeah, they're going to be in this team.
Yeah. Isaiah Stewart, like he can be pretty good. I don't know if he's gonna end up ever like being a really good starter, but like he looks like he could
Yeah.
be a really, really good second center for a team.
Yeah. He reminds me of like, I don't know. He just reminds me of a rim runner, kind of like a
Yeah.
DeAndre Jordan
Yeah.
type player. So if he's can improve and get that, I don't know if he can improve that much, but he
Hmm.
at least DeAndre Jordan still
No, but
playing a little bit here. So
yeah, like if he's
uh,
around shooters when he gets like a little more like IQ and smarts and feel for the game and stuff like that, he could just be like a perfect rim runner, rim protector type guy.
yeah,
And Jaylen Tate, yeah,
Clint Capella is
J-
probably his ideal person he wants to
yeah,
become. And Clint Capella is averaging 20 and 20 nearly. So
yeah,
I'm pretty sure he would love to do that.
yeah. And Jaylen Tate, amazing defender.
Yeah.
Post Harden, like when post Harden pre Christian Wood injury, when Houston had the number one ranked defense for like 2 or 3 weeks there,
Yeah.
Jason Tate, everyone was talking about this guy, and he was like, he looked amazing, like coming over from Europe, and one of the hardest working defenders in the league. He was just so fun to watch, and I hope that continues next year when they get other guys back. Hopefully, get like a Cade, or hopefully the Raptors get Cade, but like a top guy like
Yeah.
that, you know?
Like a Evan Mobley or something.
Yeah,
Anyone but Cade.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, second team. You go first.
I got quickly Cole Anthony,
Hmm.
Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, and Isaac Okoro.
Okay, so I have the exact same team as you, except I have so
Hey.
quickly. I have Tate at forward, Sadiq Bey at forward, Isaac Okoro the other forward, and then quickly, and I have Kuno Campazzo as my other guard.
Okay, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Cole Anthony probably just didn't play enough games to make your list.
yeah, and Campazzo was playing real minutes for like a real winning team, and they're
Yeah.
still winning even with Jamal Murray's injury, and he's going to get a lot more minutes in the playoffs. Uh, Even though he's 5'8", 5'9", he plays
Yeah.
like he's so
Amazing
good.
defense.
Amazing
Like
defense, so good, amazing
yeah.
playmaker, just so fun to watch. Quickly, uh, the sixth man for the Knicks, who are a 4 seed, has a
Scoring.
lot of trust from Tom Thibodeau. Scores a lot, shooting pretty good from three, not great from the field, but is a really important part of that team and is going to play a lot of minutes in their first round matchup.
Yeah, the reason I gave the nod to Cole Anthony is kind of like those 2 game winners. Like
Yeah,
when we talk about a rookie who has moments, like besides Anthony Edwards' dunk over Utah, and it's just Cole Anthony has those moments. You know what I mean? Where it's just
yeah,
like, man, this guy when this team comes back together with Fultz, with Jonathan Isaac,
hmm,
with top 5 pick, and hopefully they spend their cap space and get a couple other young guys. Maybe Cole Anthony be a good 6 man. He's averaging 12.3 points right now, and he
hmm,
could definitely bump that up next year. Maybe get a 14-point going as a
yeah.
6 man. So it's gonna be interesting to see him. I just gave it to him because of the game winners, to be honest.
Yeah, and those two gamers have come like pretty recently, and because
Yeah,
post All Star, he's like 14 and a half a game, 14 a game,
yeah,
44% from the field, a little bit better from three. So if he played like that the whole year, um, I'd probably have him over Campazzo. And yeah, next year if he comes back, or if they get their guys back, he's a six man, and he plays
he
like
could do
this.
stuff.
Like yeah, he can really do a lot of stuff there. And
Yeah,
who didn't we talk about yet? Sadiq Bey.
Sadiq Bey,
Sadiq Bey is really good. Like he's out of all the rookies
shooter.
on Detroit, he's a great shooter, good defender, good size, can switch. He just looks like he's gonna have like a 10-year career of being a really
Yeah.
good player.
So the Kings offered Marvin Bagley for Sadiq Bey,
Yeah,
and the Detroit Pistons said no. Sadiq Bey just looks like the perfect 3-and-D type of guy, like play defense, shoot threes, and do everything well. Isaac Carroll is kind of on those lists just because he played so much minutes.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
He wasn't really that great this year, but he just played so much more minutes and had so much more opportunity to produce than
yeah,
anyone else that he kind of just gets on this list. I personally would have had Wiseman on him if he played like 5 more games.
yeah,
Isaac Carroll just played enough more games. He just had more production, had more minutes. Like the Cavs were just like, hey, you suck, but we're just gonna keep playing you until you get better. And I hope Isaac Carroll kind of goes to like a backup shooting guard role because I just think he's too small for a small forward spot,
mm,
and I think that will help him a lot. But we have to see this Cavs teams flush out in the next 2-3 years, and
yeah,
Isaac Carroll going to that 6 man role might really help him out a lot.
Yeah, it's he
Six
feels like a
six.
little yeah, he feels like a little like Dort-esque, like really,
Yeah,
really good defender, can't hit the broadside of a
anything.
bar in shooting. But if
Yeah,
he improves that 3-point shot at all, he can be like a really, really good 3-and-D player for a long time.
yeah, and that's exactly what team players you need for like off your bench and kind of come in here, especially when you
Yeah.
have running two small guards with Garland and
Yeah. Yeah.
Sexton. So you need that guy to come in, kind of like offset one of them, and he could be a really good six-man option for that backcourt.
Yeah. Totally. All right, so that does it for our three all NBA, all rookie, all defensive teams. I don't know if you wanted to talk about the coaching like drama a little bit at the end, or if you just
Oh yeah. So Nate Bajorkin essentially fired after the
yeah.
season. Probably his whole coaching staff fired. Uh, who else? Terry Stotts is fired if they don't make it probably
Mm-hmm.
to the conference finals, and
Coach
I
Bud.
think Coach Bud is fired if they don't make it to the finals.
Wow.
Which I think for Terry Stotts, I understand they don't want to switch up this team, Portland, but they
Mm-hmm.
want to give an excuse for fans to be like get remotivated,
Yeah.
and that's the always firing your coach. It's the classic playbook. Man, we try to make these little trades, nothing happens. We need fans to be motivated. Fire our coach, try to get them rejuvenated. That's what they're gonna do. Classic media marketing. They just want this team's not gonna win a championship, but they need to convince fans that they're trying.
Yeah.
Uh, Nate Bajorkin, he's just a horrible coach. Apparently, he just like talks shit to his players and isn't kind of the like he's just horrible. Apparently, that's the reports we're getting. He can't defend himself, so we won't really talk about it too much. We don't want to bash his name, but according to the reports, he's a bad coach.
Yeah.
And Coach Bud, I don't know why this report came out. Like, no reason. Like, obviously
Yeah.
he's gonna try his best. I don't know why it came out. I think it's. I have no idea. I have no idea where the Bucks one came out. Like the other ones, I understand. The Bucks one, I
Yeah.
don't get.
I totally understand the Stotts one, the Bjorken one. I don't know what went on there. Like something happened
Yeah,
that something with TJ Warren. I don't know.
yeah.
Like
Teacher Warren requested a trade. Requested to
something
sit
happened
out.
there. It's really weird. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna talk. I don't know enough about him to talk about him.
talk
But yeah,
about him.
Coach
Yeah,
Bud. It's so weird that it came out so early, right? Like I
no
do.
reason.
Yeah, he's probably fired if not only if they lose, but if it looks the same. Like if Giannis
Yeah, just the
like
wall.
gets shut down on the wall and everything like that. Because the front office has done their job, getting Drew Holiday, you know, switching it up
And
for Giannis. If it looks the
yeah,
same, you're right. He's probably fired. And I think we suggested that like 3 or 4 months
Doc
ago.
Rivers.
We said,
We suggested Doc Rivers before 76ers got him. We are like, man, Doc
yeah,
Rivers can do magic with his team. Get him in there. And now that Doc Rivers is already taken up, I don't know who they're going to hire that's better than Coach Bud. Hopefully there's someone available, but when the Doc Rivers was available, I would have really went for it.
yeah. If it's Bud has to start making adjustments.
Yeah, he does.
They're gonna have a tough second round matchup if he doesn't start making those adjustments. Start like not playing Brook Lopez so much, maybe playing some Bobby Portis, playing more
Probably
Giannis at five.
PG
Uh,
Tucker.
PJ Tucker, yeah, that's another big
Yeah.
addition. Yeah, he has the pieces now. He can play around with the lineups. If he doesn't start doing that, then he has to be fired.
Yeah. And they're reversing the Miami Heat probably in the first round or
Uh,
Celtics,
yeah.
which is a tough matchup. Miami Heat eliminated them last year. So
Mm-hmm.
go make this a statement. Like, don't just beat them in like 6 or 7. You know what I mean? Like, sweep them. Like, make
Yeah.
this a statement. Prove
Yeah.
like this is a new team. Get everyone back into the Giannis bandwagon because
Mm-hmm.
he's one of the most enjoyable, one of the best jersey sellers. Like, fans want to cheer for him. LeBron is probably injured. Fans want to cheer against a super team, which is the Nets right now. So
Mm-hmm.
like, come on, man. Like, this has a
Yeah.
lot of like that kind of like Raptors feel where you have like
Yeah.
really like motivated superstar, injuries, present injuries, especially to Kevin Durant again and LeBron James. LeBron James didn't even
Yeah.
make playoffs because he was
Yeah.
injured.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant got injured in the finals. Like, it's a very Raptors like run, and if you're gonna do it, this is probably your best year with all these injuries.
Yeah, this season has gone from like at the beginning when the Sixers or the Nets got Harden, it seems like
Yeah,
it's another write off for the Bucks. And even if they do get through the Nets, they're not beating the Lakers. Both those teams have a ton of problems right now. The Lakers might not
yeah,
even get out of the like first round, maybe. And if the Nets, who knows what's going on with them? You know,
yeah. We haven't
this
seen them play. 7
yeah,
games totaled.
this looks like it could be a very very Raptors esque championship run.
Yeah,
And yeah,
and this is it. Like, Giannis showed his loyalty. You get him a championship in that first year,
hmm
man. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be huge for the franchise. It's gonna be the first time since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like it's gonna be crazy, man. And obviously Giannis winning one at such a young age of 25 is gonna be good
Yeah.
for his career too.
Yeah, amazing for his career, and maybe that gets him past the voter fatigue for the MVP because, like,
Next year, yeah.
Giannis could easily have, like, he has a better seed than Jokic. He has the same stats as last year, right?
Yeah.
He easily could be the MVP this year.
Way better defender too.
Yeah,
So yeah. I think what we also have to remember is those other teams that are coming out of the West, they don't really have that wall type of personnel, right? Like the Suns don't really have that. So
no,
even the Nuggets don't really have that too. So man, if this is the year, this has to be the year for them.
yeah.
They have to push hard for it.
The Clippers and Lakers are the two teams that can build that wall. I mean, Gobert obviously
Yeah.
maybe would be a nice piece in that wall. I don't know who else they would do, but yeah, like there's not a ton of teams in the West aren't building to stop Giannis like teams in the East are, right?
Yeah.
So the East is probably going to be their toughest matchups pre-finals,
Besides
unless it's
LeBron.
like it's the Lakers. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Hopefully, Coach Boy keeps his contract and doesn't get fired. We kind
yeah,
of like him as a person. We like
yeah,
what he did with Greg Popovich with the Hawks. He seems like a nice guy in interviews. So hopefully he can pull this out because we obviously want Giannis to win too because our Raptors aren't really doing anything this postseason.
yeah. All right, so that does it for this episode. We're recording on May 9th. The play-in tournament is beginning on May 18th, so 9 days from today. So that means by the time we record next, we're going to be doing our play-in preview, or are we going to?
Predictions.
Yeah,
We're just gonna do
playoff
playoff predictions.
Yeah, we might get the bottom seeds wrong, but a whole play-in playoff predictions, and then after that, playoffs. We got like playoffs for a solid 3 months. It's going to be really amazing after this kind of lackluster and not very exciting regular season with a ton of injuries.
Yeah.
It looks like even with Jamal Murray and all those guys going down, it looks like it's going to be a really exciting playoff. So that's going to be really fun. We're kind of set for the next 3-4 months.
Yeah. Especially draft coming around too. As
Oh,
Raptors fans, we're hyped for that.
We might just have to do like a live draft lottery like pod or something.
Yeah, just talking purely about Raptors. That's how hyped we'll be.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this does it for this episode. Thank you everyone for listening. You can check us out on Instagram at Stretch the Floor Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, STF Clips, where you can check out the best clips from this podcast, 3, 4, 5 minutes long. Subscribe there. But most importantly, subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Rate it 5 stars, leave a review. It all really, really helps. Other than that, we will see you guys next week when we're going to be talking play-ins and playoffs.